kind of want to see if it will follow this gravel road.
I mean, what you put in the airport, it's not that far over here.
Yeah.
Let's see which direction it takes us.
And just right over here. Where's the entrance to the airport? Is that the parking lot right there? Or this is the parking lot at the airport right here.
Yeah, but you can go. Oh, yeah, and then you could just pick it up and cut across, right? Yeah, so we don't have to actually go all the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So what you can do, you can just drop the pin. Got to take you there.
Drive south on Harrison Road for 1.6 miles.
Oh yeah, because that's going to get us. This is going to be interesting. Because look at this. Look at that cut back. That's sharp.
Yeah.
See what it does.
See. Yeah. So anytime this little steering wheel shows up, that's telling you that it's available. Like
for this whole drive.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what it does. See if it'll actually go down the dirt road. I was thinking about it. So usually there's no blue line showing up. Let's see if I get it started.
There you go.
See if it figures it out. See, this is no markings.
This is uncharted right
no
here.
Anything. No street signs. No nothing. And I've never tried it on like an off-road. And see, I mean, on the map, like there's nothing on the map. It's there's nothing. Like this blue line map data doesn't even start till over there.
Yeah, like this shows us in the edge of the field right here.
Yeah, which is true.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I mean the map, the accuracy of this position is really good.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's.
Now we're about to go across a creek here in a second, so
yeah.
I mean, as long as, but I guess it's.
And this is 100%. I mean, accelerator and wheel.
All right, let's see what it does. All right, this was a little creepy, but it's like no issue at all.
No.
This is now where are the cameras at doing it though?
You got three. Well, you got one internal cabin camera, then you got three forward-looking. There's like a wide angle, a near vision, and a far vision camera in front of this thing. And those are auto wipers too. Then you've got blind spot cameras that are just below the rearview mirrors that are looking back this way. Okay. And then there's B-pillar cameras right outside each of these pillars that are looking that way. And then there's the rear cameras. There's 8 total on the outside, and then you got this one on the inside.
Okay. And it's picking up all that.
So here we go.
Now it knows there's a crossroad, and it's picking up the
blinkers on. It's going to creep out and look, and then squeeze out. And if there's a blockage, like if you got a giant bush on the side of the road or something, it'll creep out and creep out just like until it can see, and then it'll go.
All right, now we had some acceleration there, and then it kind of slowed down. What was that about?
Yeah. Now one thing, and this is probably on every video I record because it always comes up. So it pretty much defaults if it doesn't know what speed limit is, it defaults pretty low. So it defaults to 25. And what you can do is just if you flick this scroll wheel, it goes up about 5 miles an hour at a time. Okay. So I'll just flick it up to about 40, and that just raises the max, and then it'll gradually bring itself up to whatever you told it to.
All right, now this is going to be interesting up here where Harrison Road runs into Mansnood. That's pretty sharp there.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen it on a completely dirt road. And so here's the what they call the steering wheel nag. Like it just says, hey, apply flight, and you just give it just a little bit of pressure, and it acknowledges that, hey, I'm looking at it and paying attention.
So can you adjust how often that comes up? No, okay.
No, that's purely, and it's not the exact same time every time. Like I noticed one day we were headed to Lake City, Florida, and it was real early. We're headed down for one of Elijah's wrestling things, and I noticed it was doing it like every 20 or 30 seconds. It was popping up constantly, and I'm like, why is it doing it so much? It never does it that much. Yeah. And I realized, and I didn't have my sunglasses on because it was real early. It wasn't even like the sun was not even really far up yet, and but I was really sleepy, and I was like, I bet it sees my eyes really shut, and like it looks like I'm sleepy because I told Lisa, let me try something, and I forced my eyes open real wide, and it was like just over exaggerated, and it quit doing it. I was like, this thing is watching me and thinks I'm tired.
So this camera is watching you there. Yeah.
And it will, like, if I take my phone out and look at it for more than just a couple seconds, it'll say, pay attention to the road. Like it knows what you're doing.
That's funny.
And in the next version, so this is version 12.3.6 of the full self-driving. The next version, which is starting to roll out, like right now, like this week, it started to roll out to customers. Here's this real sharp turn up here. We'll see. Yeah. See how it does it. as long as it can see your eyes and sees that you're paying attention, the nag goes away. Like it's not there
that's
anymore
nice.
at all.
All right, this is a hard turn just for me, if I having to like swing this. Maybe it's because I take it too fast. All right, let's see. Dude, that's crazy impressive.
And so see, now it saw that sign, so it made this go to 40, which made that at 44. So I've got a 10% over offset.
Okay.
Oh, 10% overset for the speed limit whenever it sees one.
Okay, so when it sees it, it resets your max to 10% over.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can still, like, if I wanted to, like, I can still go up, and you know, I can still change that max, but that's the default is 10% over whatever the last speed limit sign that it saw.
Could you tell it to jump these railroad tracks, you think?
I don't. Well, I could make it jump them, but in version 11, before the AI stuff started, yeah, it would jump them. It wouldn't slow down at all. Most of the time, it does pretty good. Is this a pretty rough set of tracks? Is it a big bump?
No, I don't think it is. But I'm in a truck usually.
Yeah, let's see. It's not slowing down very much.
Yeah.
So I slowed it down that time.
There we go. Yeah.
Because
I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't want to ramp them. But version 11 would pretty much ramp them every time. Version 12 is pretty good about slowing down. It did not that time, so I slowed it down because I didn't want to ramp them. But it's normally, and even speed bumps, like if it sees a speed bump, it'll slow down to about 10, go over it, and then speed back up.
Interesting. Now, what's neat on this is we're driving by homes. It'll pick up the car sitting in the driveway, but it won't pick up it doesn't display the house.
Yeah, and it doesn't. It doesn't display trees and stuff. It's pretty much just stuff that it's interested in. So cars and people is pretty much what it shows. Now, if you had some guy mowing his lawn, standing in the yard, it'll show him standing there because he's a pedestrian and he could potentially cross the road. But for stuff, just random objects that are off the side of the road, I guess it just doesn't waste computing power to render that on the screen because
it makes sense.
It doesn't really matter for it.
Now, what you should do is have somebody hide behind a tree and see if it picks them out.
Jump out. Now it's got to see them, right? I mean, it's because of the camera thing, but if they walked out from behind the tree, it would see them.
Now, the creepy part would be if it noticed somebody there and you couldn't see them, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And now you're squeezing the wheel or just slightly tugging?
Just putting some pressure, like a little bit of turning pressure on it. This little thing is kind of new too. So before, if you were in, you could go to like this 1/3, 2/3 screen, or you could go to full screen. But if you went to full screen, your map went away. In the most recent update, it gave you back like a little small map, which I like because I like seeing the full screen FSD view. But I didn't like losing my map. I still liked seeing where my next turn was coming up.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can see, predict what's coming up.
Yeah. Just especially with it driving, I like to know when it's about to make a turn, if it's somewhere that I'm not super familiar with. I'm looking forward to the next version when the nag goes away, but I usually wear my sunglasses everywhere when the sun's even remotely out, and if it can't see where you're looking, it's still going to do it some.
Yeah. Well, just use your engineering skills and create this little arm that just periodically just...
They've sell objects like that. It's not really legal to do it, but people make them.
Full self-aim may be...
Yeah, and it does that based on it. It knows that it's raining, so it just says, hey, it may be not as accurate, but it typically, like it was the last video when Chris Miller was riding with me.
Oh yeah.
It was a complete downpour on the circle, and of course it gave me that message, but it did fine. It never asked me to take over. Now if it comes like a blinding rain where you can't really see, sometimes it'll say, take over, FSD not available. And I guess when it gets to the point that it's fully autonomous in that kind of rain, it may just pull itself over and wait if it can't see very well.
Let's say there's a car coming over there. How far away does it have to be before it stops?
I guess it's waiting for him.
I noticed it, I guess. Alright, there he goes. Alright, yeah.
Now turn left onto Airport Drive.
I'm saying I got a little worried there because that Tahoe was coming, and I was like, is it gonna... truck had a trailer pulling in. It looked like there was just two cars close together. Yeah.
It doesn't have a rendering for everything. It's kind of funny sometimes when there's like a motorhome, it'll look like an 18-wheeler. You know, it just sees. So it does give it an approximate size estimate based on what vehicle it picks.
Right.
But the other day there was one of those little like trailer-mounted construction arrow, like construction zone arrow thing sitting on a trailer, and it rendered it as like a small car sitting in the median. So it, you know, it sees something that it's interested in, and it's like, this is something. But so it just saw that 25, so it dropped it back down to 28.
All right. So can you tell the car without touching anything to go back to where you came
Now
from?
keep left to take flight line drive.
I mean, I could do a voice command to navigate back to your house. So it's navigating as best it can to our dot that we dropped.
Yep.
And if these are so, in the current build, it won't just find a spot and park. I mean, ultimately that's going to be the goal, right? Because if it's autonomous, then it needs to be able to go park itself.
Right.
So it won't do that completely by itself yet. But if it gets into a parking lot, as long as they're not the angled spots, because it wants to back in, as long as they're straight spots, which these are. Let's see. Is it gonna? We may not want to go fully into the parking lot because I don't know if we want to go back out by this.
Your destination is on the right.
Okay, so it's just bringing us as close as it can to this dot, and this basically looks like the end of the navigation right here. So I'm not want to go, because we can't go that way anyway. But
Now
if there's
turn left onto Broadway Street.
there's a parking lot right here. I'll show you the auto park thing. It's a little bit slow right now, I guess, because it's still kind of new.
Now turn right onto Flight Line Drive.
Yeah,
Now turn right.
So stop talking to us. Once you're in a parking lot, when it sees the spots, let's see. There, see all the spots showed up?
Yeah.
So it's going to suggest one, but we can pick any of the ones that show up. You can pick. So just pick a spot. Any of those that are options.
Let's pick this one.
And then just tell it to start.
So you still got all the cameras to see everything around you.
Mm-hmm. And it still renders everything on here, so you can look around and see exactly what's around it. But it's slow, but it pretty much nails it. I mean,
it nails it.
It'll get you right in the middle of that spot. And if there's cars all around, it'll do a couple different times if it needs to get just right. And then as soon as it gets where it wants to go, it automatically puts it in the park.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Dude, can you imagine? I mean, how long have they been working on that?
I mean, it's been years since they've been developing it, but I mean, which granted there's not a whole lot of complexity to that drive just then, but the only thing I did from your house to right here was slow down for a set of railroad tracks.
Exactly, yeah.
So let's see, I mean, we can go, if I just want to go back to, let's see, that was basically your address, right? Or the one you sent? Harrison Road?
Yeah, pretty close to it.
Yeah.
So you get to pick your options here.
Yeah, I don't know which way it had us go before. Is that going back the same way it did before?
No, that's fine. That's a different way. It's going 134 and then down, so that's fine.
You want to do a different route that way and back? Alright,
so that's just activated it then?
Yeah, well, I just put it into drive.
Oh.
So, and it looks like, sometimes in a parking lot, it like doesn't really know where to go because you're like in a random parking lot, but it's...
Yeah.
Now turn left onto Flight Line Drive.
It's going to want to go around this median, yes, but it's, I mean...
I thought it was going to ramp it, man. I thought it was going to go through it. That was going to be cool. So in your truck will have the same technology in it.
It will. Yeah, they haven't... So every new, like brand new vehicle that comes out, it takes a while for them to roll it out because you've got, the cameras are in slightly different places, the vehicle's a different size,
right?
All this kind of stuff. So even though they've been delivering Cybertruck since last December, about nobody that's got one right now has FSD yet. They haven't rolled it out to it yet.
Okay.
They don't even have like enhanced autopilot. It's pretty much like they've got cruise control, and that's about it right now. I'm hoping here in the next month or two it'll be available for all the Cybertrucks. So then by the time I get mine, it'll just be available.
Yeah.
Because I use it all the time. Like everywhere I drive, if I go to the bank, that's 2 minutes away or whatever.
Yeah.
I just put in the address, tell it to go, and let it. Like I don't drive anymore, pretty much. And so that'll be kind of I mean, I'm looking forward to getting the truck, but that'll be a pain to have to go back to actually driving again because I usually just don't.
And I guess you don't care about the speed because you can just flick that little wheel there and speed up then.
Right. And I do, like on the way to work, there's a couple different places where it'll change onto another small road, and I'll have to change it pretty much every day at that one spot. But
alright, so this is interesting. Let's see.
yeah,
Just
so
gonna inch up.
it inches up and it sees that car right there coming.
It's interesting. It sees it, but it doesn't show it on the screen. Oh,
Yeah,
there it is.
I mean, it sees it from a ways off, but it only shows you a certain amount.
Alright, so see the. Looks like it already saw that sign because it was already at that speed.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you think this ends up going?
What do you mean? Like the technology?
Yeah, so I mean, at some point, if the car drives itself and we know that it's that good, you know, can you send your kid to the store who's not 16 yet?
Like at what point can a non-licensed driver get in?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, because once there's, like a kid can take a taxi, right?
Right.
So once there's an actual robo-taxi, you know, once they get level 5 autonomy where you can get into the back
Yeah.
and nobody's up here,
Yeah.
then I think at that point, let's see that other car.
Now there was, I saw something. Can't think of the name of the company, but there was a video I watched on a news site, and there was a girl who lived in a non-car living area, right? So the neighborhood, you could have cars, but you parked them off-site. Everything on campus, basically, you had to walk.
Huh.
But it was I mean, these were young professionals. And so they had a taxi come up, and it was fully autonomous taxi that she took in. And I can't think of the name of the company.
Like a Waymo or something?
Mate, that was it. That was it. And she got in the passenger seat, and off it went.
Yeah, they have those. I think mostly I think they're in San Francisco right now. There may be a couple cities, but they're highly geo-fenced. It's like there's only certain areas of the city they can go in. They've got tons of LiDAR sensors, and they're like HD maps on the highway. Like it's a very specific set of rules that they have to meet to be able to go like certain places.
So they develop the parameters, and then you code to the parameters, which makes it that much more accurate.
Essentially.
Okay.
The downside to that, so yes, it's really accurate for that little specific area, but then you get on a road outside of that area and it may be clueless about what to do.
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, it's pretty crazy the way they're doing it, the way Tesla's doing it. They don't have a driverless service yet like Waymo does, but the fact that they're developing it as a generalized solution, so you turn it on a dirt road and it makes its way to where it needs to go, like it's pretty impressive.
That is impressive. Very impressive. Now,
1,000 feet, turn right onto East Highway 134.
so it's still talking to you as if you're driving, because this is just the Google Maps or...
Right, well, yeah, and I can, if I wanted to turn that off, I can go to
Now turn right
navigation,
onto East Highway 134.
and turn her off. There, now she's off.
Now, it's going to be really neat when they start developing cars that are fully autonomous. There's no steering wheel, and the layout of the car internally.
Like two seats are
yeah,
facing this way and
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, now on August the 8th, which is 1 month from tomorrow, Tesla has an event coming up. They're calling their Robo-Taxi Unveil,
Yeah.
where they're going to basically unveil the concept, their vehicle that they're going to be using. I imagine it probably doesn't have a steering wheel.
Yeah.
So they're unveiling that in 1 month. But my suspicion is they'll probably, because they've already started developing an app for their ride-share service,
Yeah.
which is basically what you'd pull up within the app to go to call a taxi to you, and like, almost like Uber, except there'd be nobody in it. They've already started developing that app, and I wouldn't be surprised if they started a ride-share service like Uber for actual driver ride-share like Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me at all if they didn't do that first to get all the software worked out and get the system going and get the infrastructure of the app and everything set up,
Right.
and then just be able to basically turn it on and say, do you want a driver to come get you, or do you want a driverless car to come get you, and then you just basically pick which one you want.
See. Now that's going to be cool. Because I wouldn't mind for especially long trips, not have to sit there and drive. To actually kick back, relax while you're going on a trip.
Yeah, and well, the thing too is they're developing the infotainment side of things really well too. It's like right now, I mean, obviously you can't use it while you're driving, but ultimately, whenever it's level 4 and there's somebody sitting here but they don't have to pay attention, they'll be able to just flip a switch and all of a sudden you can access all your infotainment stuff while you're driving. You know, pull up YouTube videos and watch, or pull up a movie on Netflix. You just recline your chair back and turn on the movie.
Yeah. And
let it go. But it's cool around town. I usually go into work every day, but when you take a long road trip and don't have to hardly do anything for 2 or 3 hours, that's money right there.
Yeah. And
it's amazing the fatigue, the less fatigue that you have, just mental fatigue of driving.
Right.
You don't realize that you're really getting it, but you know when you take a long trip, you get to your destination, you're just tired.
Yeah.
It cuts down on that way down, because you're not really having to make any decisions. Like you're keeping an eye on it to make sure it's when it comes to an intersection, you're like, okay, is it clear? Yeah. But other than that, you're not even engaging your brain to lane keep or anything. It's just doing its thing.
All right, so it was
see, this one's actually got a stop sign at the railroad track, so we don't have to worry about ramping this one. See, one day when it still had version 11, it hit one so hard, because I was just watching it, because I was like, it was kind of early on. I was just sort of curious about it, and I was just letting it go as far as it would, and it was on a road that I had not been on before, so I saw the crossing coming up. I just didn't know how big of a bump it was, and it hit it at like 30 miles an hour or something, and I'm pretty sure my back wheels came off the ground. It was just like, whoa! I was like, oh my goodness,
that's crazy.
And just
like you weren't.
It's throttled pretty down.
Pretty good suspension on it though. I mean, if they're coming off the ground,
it was kind of rough. Yeah, I mean, of course, it's a fairly tight suspension. Like you can feel a lot of the bumps. It was kind of jarring for that.
Because the battery is in the floor, right?
Yeah.
So anything really that, I assume they have the plates or shield or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, all these suspension components are not connected to like where the battery pack is, but it's pretty much from wheel well to wheel well, the whole lower section of the car.
Dude, this is cool. This is very cool.
I think so.
All right, so if you don't apply force, how long before does it just stop in the middle of the street?
It will. Eventually it'll flash faster and faster, and then it'll beep at you to kind of give you a final warning, and then after that it'll give you basically a strike. And if you get it'll pretty much disengage itself for that portion of the ride, and you can't turn it back on.
That's where you're gonna turn.
Okay. Yeah, let's see if it'll
it may go to the up.
Yeah, see it's slowing out. It sees the dot there, but yeah, it's just gonna basically stop here. Back up just to here. But it will, what was I saying?
With if you ignore the...
Oh yeah. So it'll beep at you, and then it'll basically disengage it for that drive, and then until you stop and put it in park, and then put it back in, it won't let you re-engage it again for that trip.
Okay.
And if you get 5 of those, it'll, like, you can't even engage it anymore, like, you're done.
Oh wow.
So it's like 5 strikes and you're out. Now those...
Like for good?
Not for good. Like it'll basically put you in the penalty box for like a week, and then it'll reset you and say, okay, you got another chance.
Now, what's going to be really cool is when and seeing how traffic, accidents will finally cars can start to speak to each other.
Yeah.
And make sure that you can't pull out knowing that one's coming or who has right of way.
Right. Well, just the aspect of all 8 cameras looking everywhere.
Yeah.
Like I feel better, like when I'm in heavy traffic, like going through Atlanta or something, I feel much better with it driving than if I'm driving, because I can only look in one place at one time.
Yeah. And
it's looking everywhere all the time, and it never blinks, and it never forgets to look one direction. Like it's always looking, and never forgets to look to the left. Like it's always looking, and so
it's always consuming the data.
But yeah, once they're all like that, then you've got just the redundancy of every single vehicle. All watching everything else.